Hey everybody, I have been thinking a lot about traditional relationships, and I wanted to go live for a minute to talk a little bit about that, just to kind of document it for myself, because I feel like I'm learning some things. And I know that how I approach relationships is not traditional. Being open and non-monogamous is not something that people have had a big a big candering to, if you will. And so what happens is with relationships, I feel like what happens is we try to get onto that relationship escalator, that okay, we're dating, and now, well, for lesbian-ishness, I use that term loosely, people second date, we're already U-hauling in some cases. So how does somebody who doesn't want to be on a relationship escalator like me, how do I deal with these relationships? Because really, somebody can put a piece of metal or whatever, a ring, on somebody's finger, and in that is a whole bunch of promises, right? Supposedly. They can do that with just this metal thing and not necessarily mean any of it. And I feel like how I approach it is I'm honest, I am upfront, and I will always tell my partners where I'm at and what's going on with me. But that's not a guarantee in the traditional sense, right? How we were raised, how society has programmed relationships. Even those of us who are poly and open, we still have that mentality. It's still in there. So trying to push through that, it's difficult for somebody like me who does value, even though I'm not even poly, right? But I still value the love and care in relationships. So I tend to get hurt in my relationships a lot because I feel like I'm open and honest with that person, and I tell them that I care about them, but I've given them the expectation that I will never necessarily marry them. I'm not a monogamous person, but that doesn't mean that I can't love and care about them. Maybe even more so than somebody who just slapped a ring on it, so that way they can make you think that's what they're going to do. Again, I'm not saying that people just slap rings on to do that. I'm not trying to blanket statement that. This is just an observation. And honestly, it's kind of interesting, right? Because if you're not on a relationship escalator, what are you even doing? What does that mean? Like when, as an example, when I just broke up with the most recent ex, the primary partner who was living here in my house, how do you differentiate that? What's the difference between having a traditional relationship and living with a partner? Well, we were open. We both dated other people, but there was still traditional things that got attached to it, like sleeping in the same bed, or not like I wasn't comfortable necessarily hosting anymore at that point for myself. And so that kind of was some weird thing that I had to deal with. But I'm starting to realize now, like I have a lover that lives with me, and this has been a really great experience because we're both open and independent. So we want to spend time together, and we do. And then when we're off doing our own things, it's okay. And we know how we feel about each other. And so that's great. And we rely on that honesty. So it's interesting to actually be able to experience that with somebody. We haven't promised anything to each other other than the fact that we feel like, hey, we like each other. And right now at this point in our life, this is what I can offer you. Hey, this is what I can offer you. And we communicate. And if anything changes, we discuss it. And I feel like for me, that's great. I do, because I'm still new to it. I don't care that I've been doing this for only 3 years, and that's not very long. It just isn't. So, sorry, I keep yawning. Jeez. It's all this smoke, right? But in the traditional sense of relationships, I tend to, lack of a better term, lose out to the people who can offer something more traditional, even if they're full of shit. So if somebody lies to you, but they'll give you a ring, and that's what you ultimately feel like you want, is to get married, then why wouldn't you do that, right? It doesn't matter what I've told you. I haven't promised you anything other than honesty, right? So, I don't know. What do y'all think? Totally. And you know what? That makes a lot of sense, because I don't know if everybody else can see this, but feeling like you are mostly monogamous, but that you want some freedom, that makes absolute sense. And there's so many different kinds of relationships that you can have. Like, that's similar to how I think my ex-partner, I think that's kind of what she would like. She's now solo poly, which means she's putting herself first. But I really think that she's less open than she thinks that she is, but likes to have the freedom to explore sexually. And that to me is non-monogamy, right? That's not poly. That's, I would like to be with a person, but I would like to explore sexuality. So I totally get that. And it's all, there's so many different kinds of relationships. I have a lot of different kinds of relationships. You don't believe in marriage, partners, and more important than friends. Yeah. I don't believe in romantic partnership should provide all your needs. That's right. Hey, some of us can't live with other people. Like, honestly, my partner that lives here, she has her own space, and her own room and whatever. Like, she can go in there. She's got her own bathroom. Yeah, exactly, right? But, and we talk about how in relationships, the reason being open is so wonderful is because you get to have other people fill in these places. They don't have to be any different. They get to be whoever they are. You get to be your authentic self, and you get to enjoy those parts of each other. Everybody else is different, So, yeah, that's good. But really great points. Thank you for that. This is just impromptu here. I've just been thinking about it all day. And last night I wanted to vent it out. So anyway, thank you so much for participating. I appreciate it. And everybody else, cheers. I'll see you next. Oh, yes. What? Well, okay, but you can still do that. You can still be a one at a time person, and be open. What is it, if you don't mind me asking, what is it about, what do you want to be able to do? Like, what do you want to be able to do in your relationship? You want to have that feeling of like monogamy with a person, that the feelings that come with that, right? Okay. But you want to be able to, like, if you meet a cute chick or person, I should say, if you meet a cute person out, that you might want to at least flirt with them. And if something happens, something might happen, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you want to have a romantic, like, in-depth relationship with them. Just want to fool around. Like something like that? Or do you not even want that? Because, there's obviously a bunch of different realms. You just have to find what's right for you and talk to your partners about it. Because I've found that a lot of people are looking for fairly casual interactions in some cases. In fact, I love partnered people because, to me, I don't know. I like it. I feel like they already kind of get this mentality of the kind of relationship I would like better for some reason. Because I already have a main person, so they're not going to look for that from me. And I see it up front, but... Yeah, and honestly, that's part of my mission, and that is to show you that casual interactions can absolutely have intense connection, and so you don't need to have like love and like some sort of commitment to necessarily have a deep connection with somebody. But when it comes to sex, and you can reserve those feelings for one person, it can be hard and it can be confusing, because sometimes sexual interactions and those connections can link to wanting more. But again, that's kind of traditionally based, because we're programmed for that. Right. Right. That's why, like, there's so many different kinds of like poly. And I don't think you're poly. I think you only want to love one person. So it sounds like you'd be more non-monogamous. Meaning like when you're talking to other people in general, you would want them to be like, hey, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. Oh yeah. And you know what? Trauma is a huge thing. And honestly, all of us have some sort of trauma and various ranges, especially around relationships and sex and love and all of that, right? And sorry, damn. That also speaks to why it's so, yes, trauma bonds are definitely the thing. Yep. But the main reason why people try to leap into having that deep connection, and probably what's going on with you even, is because you have that trauma. You want to find that safe space, that place to trust, and you don't feel like you can do that without like having that in-depth love, loyalty connection. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth or anything. I'm just saying that's my experience. Different traumas affect people differently, so it could definitely be a thing. Del Rey, what's happening? Wait, I want to know how things are going across on the other side of the world for a minute, if you want to pop on here and say something. So anyway, as it goes for like traditional relationships, I'm not the best at those, but it's hard, and a lot of people don't understand what the hell was I just gonna say? Because I'm a stoner. Yeah, tracks. What tracks? Yes, definitely. Yes. Because having that sense of security, I can only speak for myself, but having that sense of security makes you feel, even if it's false, even if it's a false sense of security, what you associate with being secure is definitely a thing, right? So that's great. That's great that you're working on that in therapy. Like, I also have some buddies over at Connective if somebody needs help with finding a therapist to help them with specifically this area. You can let me know and I can hook you up with that. But it sounds like you already have a therapist, and I hope that's working out well for you. So that's good. Let me think. Is there anybody have any other questions or anything before I log off for this particular subject? Not that I won't revisit it necessarily, but I wanted to just kind of get out there, So, all right, well, thank you very much for joining me today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to DM me or anything else, and I'll try to get to you as soon as I can. All right, cheers.